Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Brushes and Bunnies and I'm back fresh from vacation. I was 3 weeks in Ireland and it was not a good time. Despite the fact that we were trying to have a good time, it was just not possible. So for this video, I really just want to take it easy. I'm actually just uploading old footage that I wanted to upload 3 weeks ago before my vacation. Basically, it's just me sketching in my sketchbook, and then I thought I would give you guys updates on what ended up happening in my vacation time, and also give you updates on what is going to happen with my YouTube channel, because I don't think I'll be leaving my apartment for the next few months, and also I'm technically in self-isolation because we just came back from traveling, and that means I have a lot of time on my hands. So yeah, just prepare for a lot more videos and also a lot more art and probably live streams. So get out your sketchbooks and come draw with me while I tell you my story of what ended up happening, traveling through a pandemic. First and foremost, I do want to say that we are all okay. So far, we are healthy, we're good. I'm healthy, my husband is, my parents who also joined me on our trip throughout Ireland, they are so far so good. Everyone is good and healthy. So this is basically the most important thing, is just to keep that going, get enough sleep, eat our fruits and vegetables, get enough vitamin C, vitamin D, and stay active. So this is something that we'll be actively focusing on for the next few weeks. We traveled to Dublin on March 5th and we basically came back on March 20th, which was a few days ago already. And between the span of those, 2 weeks or so, a lot had changed, and it was incredible at how fast it actually changed while we were there. It was a little bit of a worse situation for my parents because they traveled internationally while my husband and I stayed within the European kind of zone. So for us it was a little bit easier, but for my parents they had a really hard time trying to get back to Canada. So this is something that I'll be talking about later on. Basically, for the first 5 days, my husband and I were there by ourselves. We had rented a sort of mini castle out in the woods, in the countryside, up north of Ireland. It was beautiful. It was a really, really fun time there. We did enjoy it. And at that point in time, there were not too many cases in Ireland compared to Germany, which was growing quite fast. And we figured, okay, there's maybe like 20 or so cases in Ireland. Things are still open, the pubs, the restaurants. At that point, St. Patrick's Day parade was still on. Everything was still running, everything was still open. It was fine. People were taking precaution, but at that point, it wasn't so bad. And then on March 11th, we went to pick up my parents in Dublin, and we basically drove down south to the Wicklow area, which was absolutely beautiful. We had such a great time that day. And unfortunately, that was also the day that the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. And from that point on, everything changed, and it happened so fast. Within the next few days, we already saw sort of the repercussions to that declaration in Ireland, and also, deep into the parts of the countryside, which was an adjustment, and it was something that we had never seen before in our lives. There were massive crowds at the grocery store. Obviously, as you guys know, the toilet paper was completely sold out, the bread was sold out, the potatoes, everything was gone. Fruits and vegetables were basically next to nothing. There was a lot of rush, there was a lot of crowds, there was a lot of panic, and people didn't really know what to do apart from wanting to buy food first, for whatever reason, although the grocery stores kept saying that they'll be receiving deliveries within the next few days, and it's constant, it's not stopping, the stores are not closing. The only thing that was basically closing at the time were pubs and some shops, and I believe some restaurants as well. And of course, Ireland did end up cancelling all of their St. Patrick's Day festivities throughout the country, which was also a reason why we actually went there in the first place, was to enjoy those. So that was a bummer. But I mean, at that point, we totally understood why it had to be cancelled. So yeah. Unfortunately, we did have to cancel our stay in Galway. We had to cancel most of our activities that we had planned, and basically all we could do was buy food and self-isolate in our mini castle, and then also basically try to sightsee by going outside into wide open spaces. For example, climbing some cliffs or going hiking, which in all honesty was not that bad, and we were also there for that, but at the same time it became kind of strange. The feeling and the fear became really, really strange. At that point, the biggest problem for probably all of us in the household was, you know, the what ifs. Like, what if we can't get back home? What if it gets so bad we're stuck here? What if our planes are canceled? What if, you know, there was just constant questions and trying to figure things out, and the news wasn't helping because a lot of the things were very like fear mongering and like panic, and everyone was freaking out and we couldn't get proper answers, and all we could do was basically wait and see what the official government, you know, statements were. And that's all we could do. But those days were really difficult because it was hard to enjoy our vacation, and at the same time it was also hard to control whatever fear we had and or anxiety or stress, because it was something we've never dealt with before. A lot of people never really dealt with this before, so it was really difficult to kind of try to, you know, be on vacation, enjoy ourselves, and also try to get the proper information without freaking out over everything. I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that we were far away from home, and just being out, you know, in a different country, not with your home, not with the people that you know. I mean, obviously I knew my family, but, you know, just not being home was really the big deal for me. As soon as I came back home, I felt so much better, but, you know, when you're out vacationing throughout a time like this, you really feel like you're out in the water, like in the deep end, and there's sharks circling beneath you. That's kind of how it felt like. As the days went on, we did try to enjoy our vacation and basically try to minimize our stress levels as much as possible, because it was extremely stressful for us, and basically tried to kind of minimize the amount of times we checked the news unless it was official government statements, and basically just go out, avoid crowds, wash our hands continuously. I don't even know how many times we washed our hands in a day. Do not touch things. Go out in public when needed, like grocery shopping, and basically just enjoy the nature. There were a few things that we did which were amazing. We went hiking to go see some caves. We went on the highest cliffs of Europe, and we had beautiful sunny days, apart from some rainy days, of course. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was fun. We did enjoy a lot of time outside, and I was happy to have that time with my parents as well. In terms of the Irish people, they were so understanding, they were welcoming, they kind of took pity on us. Some people actually also kind of stared at us funny. I had this feeling that because we were foreigners, that they wanted to stay away from us even more than usual, which was unfortunate. We did get that a couple times. At least I felt that we had that a couple times. But I mean, I can understand. Given the situation, it was understandable. But yeah, the Irish people, they took extra precaution everywhere. They were amazing at the grocery stores. They basically disinfected everything. They wore gloves. They disinfected the kind of card reader when you're paying for your food, basically. They disinfected the table where your food goes on. They disinfected everything. They took so great precautions, you know, staying away a meter away, almost 2 meters away from each other. People were great, really. We felt really safe there, and I mean, I can't complain about the way that things were handled in Ireland. It was really, really good. Now, towards the end of our vacation is when things started to get a little bit scary and actually super stressful. For us, having to return to Germany, I was not so worried because things were not really closing as fast as they were with Canada or international travelers. Yes, the cases in Germany kept duplicating every 3 days or so that was worrying in itself, but I was not too worried that I would have troubles getting back, although they did shut down the borders. Because I do own a residency and I am married to a German, I had no problems getting back into the country. That was basically my only concern. Apart from that, we were not too worried that the flights would be cancelled or anything like that. And even if we were completely ready to be settled in Ireland, if needed, we were able to stay there for the next month or two and basically work from home in a way, because we had brought our work laptops for that specific case. Now, on the other hand, with my parents, because they had to travel through 3 different airports and they would have had to have a pit stop in Iceland, things were a little bit different for them and a lot more scarier, because basically the day before they had to travel back from Dublin to Toronto, their flights were cancelled completely, and this is where basically the fun began. Also, just to backtrack a bit, throughout the week we had been calling with the airline, Iceland Air, to see if my parents could possibly get on an earlier flight, and at the time they confirmed that my parents were already booked for the second flight outside of Canada and going back into Canada, so they were technically okay. For some reason, the day before their flight, things were canceled, so I guess Iceland closed their borders, or they were no longer accepting flights within the country, only coming out of the country. They were still happening, so not really sure what happened there, but luckily for them, they did get redirected to a new set of flights with British Airways and Air Canada, and I believe KLM also, although that did not work out either. So they ended up having flights confirmed, but they had to travel from Dublin to London, from London to Montreal, from Montreal to Toronto. So it was one more flight than they expected. It was just really stressful, really long, tiring, and a bit of a scary thing because of the uncertainty of who you were traveling with, whether there'd be sick people on the plane, whether the flight would be cancelled when they arrived in London, what basically happened once they got to Canada. There was lots of not knowing what would happen, and that totally stressed out my parents for good reason. Now, I have to say, with my experience at the airport, things were pretty good and a lot less stressful than I anticipated. I actually was expecting there to be a rush of people at the airport trying to get back home, and luckily in Dublin it was rather quiet, and also in Berlin it was also very, very quiet. There was actually more police than people coming into the country, which was a little bit unnerving if you're not a German citizen, but it was totally fine. On our plane specifically, we only had 7 people. Actually, I think it was 9 people. We had 9 people in total, including my husband and I, and we were completely isolated at the front of the plane. No one was around us except for the flight attendants, and we felt actually super safe and didn't really have anything to worry about. Of course, at the airport and on the plane, we made sure to disinfect everything that we would probably touch. This includes the table before you in the airplane, and the armrest, and possibly anything else, the seatbelt, everything. We just try to kind of take as much precaution as possible. We also washed our hands all the time, and we try to avoid the airplane bathrooms, and basically just avoid crowds and be super isolating, or keep ourselves isolated from other people. Once we were back in Berlin, we took a taxi back home. Luckily, we live only 15 minutes away from the airport, which is so nice during a time like this. You don't have to take public transport, and taxi doesn't cost very much. Now, there is a few things that I want to say in terms of the differences between Ireland and Germany. Germany already, or at least Berlin, I could already probably confirm that they're not taking as many precautions as we saw in Ireland, which is very worrying for us. People are not really respecting the 1 meter or 2 meter distance. I see it some places, but for the most part, I haven't had that secure feeling that I had in Ireland, especially in the grocery stores. Things are not being disinfected. People are not taking care of keeping distance from each other, and this is something that really irritates me, and it's something that I really want you all to think about when you're out shopping for food and when you're just in crowded areas, just to maintain your distance, social distance, and also to be aware of others around you, and try to avoid crowds, try to stop going out and being in public areas, and just stay at home. So this is something that I really want to emphasize, because it can get worse, and it probably will get worse, unfortunately, until it gets better. The situation in Berlin right now is not entirely good, but it's also not as bad as it could be yet. People are starting to stay at home, at least I think for a week now. People have been staying at home, working from home as much as possible, and basically only leaving their houses if they have to go buy food. Of course, there will always be people out there that take advantage of the situation, still go to clubs, still try to have public gatherings in the parks. This is something that they're actively trying to stop right now, and it's for good reason, because cases are increasing each day. Currently, I think that clubs, bars, restaurants, and shops are closed, and basically only grocery stores, like essential stores, like grocery stores, pharmacies, and I'm not sure what else, but basically essential things are open and should be the only things open. So yeah, that's basically it. We are staying at home for the next few months. I don't know when this will end, but so far I think it's projected just for mid-April, but probably that will be extended until we get a hold of this virus. To all my friends out there that are watching this, please take care of yourselves, take care of your family. Don't hoard unnecessary items like toilet paper and canned olives. I don't even know. Just stop the hoarding. This is insane. Just don't do that. Be mindful of others, and don't be afraid to call people out if they're doing that, because that is just disgusting. And yeah, I mean, just take care of yourselves and take care of your family. Wash your hands, keep like self-isolate yourself, and maintain a good social distance. And yeah, that's all we can really do to kind of like stop the spread from going too crazy. As for my channel, because I do have a lot more time and I'll be staying from home mostly for the next few months, I will be increasing my videos and probably getting back to live stream and yeah, just having fun with art again. So I think now's the time to do this, and this is something I'll be focusing on. It's actually something that's really nice to take your mind off of the stresses of the world, and I'm looking forward to it. Holy smokes, this video is already 16 minutes long. I think that's my longest video in a very long time. But yeah, I'm gonna basically leave you with this one last message. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, stay away from each other, lock yourself in your apartment or house or mansion, cave, wherever you live in. Basically don't come out for the next few months. Just like keep away from crowds and don't party. That's all I ask. And be mindful of others. Stop hoarding toilet paper and learn a new skill. Preferably art, because art is very cool and it helps to take the mind away from things. So yeah, so I'll basically be seeing you in a few days with my next upload. I don't quite know when that is, but that will be very soon, because that's all I'm doing now is working from home and doing my art. I want to wish you all a lovely Sunday, and I'll be seeing you in my next video. Bye!